Guys, how many of you have hit the heavy bag and then felt that hand sting right away? Your hand is almost closed and it closes completely on contact. You throw them on, right? It just ties all the way up. But the key about that is you need to have a good quality glove. Crew, how many of you have hit the heavy bag and jammed up your hand? You felt the stinger. It's a very common thing that I get questions about all the time. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about grip strength so that you can prevent that injury in the first place. We're going to talk about impact points on the bag, where you should be hitting, because a lot of times, you know, when you're taught or when you see things, you don't actually know where you're hitting because you see people doing it with gloves on. So we're going to review that. And then we're also going to talk about sometimes the issue is not with the wrist. Sometimes the issue is with your shoulder, which makes it very difficult for you to hit the target because your shoulder mobility is not solid. All right, so we're going to work on that as well. I'm going to show you a couple exercises for that. All right, guys, it's going to be an informative video. It might be a long one, but you're going to like what you see. And so let's get it going. All right, guys, so the first thing you're going to do is, number one, take off your gloves, throw them to the side, because I want to show you this with bare hands, all right? Now I'm going to stand in tight so you guys can see all this. Number one, what I usually tell people is this knuckle, this one is the devastator. You can see it's quite a bit bigger than the other ones, right? I remember watching an interview once with Mike Tyson, man, and he made a fist, and this knuckle was like this long, man. It looked like a dagger. Anyway, what you want to think about is this being kind of the main contact point when you hit. Even if you rotate, boom, strong, there, right? Even if you're throwing it this way, it's there. Again, that's more in the middle of your hand. That's really strong this way. What people typically do is when they throw a combination and it feels good and they'll hit that sweet spot, if they're looking at the logo, they hit that, boom, or there, boom. That middle knuckle is the main contact point. And there's a couple reasons why that's important. Number one is when you throw it like this and you rotate over. In the professional game, when you twist that in there and you turn it, that's what causes cuts. When you turn, boom, last second, boom, right? The other thing you want to think about is a lot of coaches will teach when you throw your punch, your hand is almost closed and it closes completely on contact. Boom, right before contact, it closes. A lot of times that gives you a little better accuracy, and it also saves fatigue in your hand. Because if your hand's constantly clenched all the time as hard as it can be, again, you fatigue your muscle. And if your grip strength is not phenomenal, you're gonna make more mistakes because your hands don't clench as hard as they used to. That's another reason why grip strength is important. The more strength you have in your hands, the harder you can close them, the harder you can punch, the less fatigue you're gonna get throughout a round. Again, you don't really think about that much, but remember, if you're doing 10, 12 rounds even on hand pads on the heavy bag, and you're clenching your hand the whole time, your hand gets tired, your shoulder gets tired, you start to shrug up a little bit, you're wasting energy. So if you think about closing like this, boom, last second, you're gonna conserve energy, but still maintain your strength. Okay, so here again, when you're throwing the right hand, it can be this way, little turn, or it can turn all the way over, boom, the devastator making contact. Now, how do injuries occur? A lot of times when you're here, there's a few things that can happen. When you're looking at the heavy bag, people turn their head, right? You turn your head to the left, you can't see the target, and you veer off the side, or this knuckle makes contact with the bag. When I do that, if I turn my head, my wrist bends like this. Now think of it, the energy, is it better for the energy to go right through my forearm and shoulder or into my back? Or is it better to go like this? When you hit like this, guys, if you're not really strong, again, that energy is straight through your wrist and it's gone from here instead of having all that force behind you here. So if you think of the overhand right, a lot of times why it hurts so much, because your whole forearm, shoulder, weight is coming down in a straight line. Boom, boom. That big knuckle is making contact, even if you turn it. Boom. Right? That's why it's such a devastating punch, because you're going with gravity and your body's coming down on top. If you make a mistake and you turn that hand in, which is the only time I've ever broken my hand, right, with a true boxer's fracture, was I threw that wrong and I bent my wrist and boom, there it goes, it snapped. The true boxing fracture is this right here. That's what breaks. The second one, that's an actual boxer's fracture, right? Boom, that one. And I broke my hand there. So I learned my lesson. So you always want to make sure that this angle or this piece, boom, is right there. No matter what angle, boom, the devastator is making contact. That's really important. So you can already start to figure out why grip strength is so important, guys. Now again, a drill you can do, especially if you're working with new people, is get them to hit the heavy bag or hand pads without a glove on. So if you think about it, when I have a glove on, let me use this one. When I have a glove on and I'm showing you drills and I say to you, okay, hit with your big knuckle. Some people think it's the bottom part. Some people think it's here, because it depends on how they're holding their fist, right? You got to take the glove off and physically show them, because they could be hitting like this or they could be hitting like that, which is the big devastator knuckle. So there is a difference. So if you take the glove off and you get them to throw their combos without the gloves on, it does actually make a difference in terms of where they're hitting, because they can see it physically, you know, when you're throwing that punch out there, what knuckle you mean, because again, what seems simple to us doesn't always seem simple to somebody else, all right? So that's really important. So those are key points, again, just in the beginning. So all you gotta do is, I like to do things in 10s. You get them to go inside, boom, 10. Same spot every time. You can put a small piece of tape on there, right? And just don't worry about the position too much. Not too much. Obviously, it's always important, right? Do 10 of those, right? And then go 10 right hooks. Thinking about the forearm in line. Right? And you'll be able to see, you can slow it down, they can do it slow. If they're bending their wrist, fix it. If their hand's staying really stiff and they feel like it's getting tired, tell them to close their hand on impact, but make sure they close it on impact. That's a really simple drill, really effective, and that works for any level. Even pros, guys, if you're coming back from an injury and your grip strength is really weak, it's good, number one, to measure their grip strength with a dynamometer to make sure that you can see, and those are very cheap, you can see how far their grip strength is coming along. Because if you know they're pulling, say, 300 on the dynamometer, but they start boxing again, hitting hard when their grip strength is only at 100, you have an indication that they're still at risk to injuring themselves again. So again, just be smart. So that's also very useful. Okay, so again, just those are ideas on how to be smart and how to really utilize hitting things properly with that devastating knuckle. And then once you get the impact points down, then you start to work on their technique. With the uppercut, what I like to tell people is, I don't, especially beginners, I don't like people hitting the heavy bag straight on with uppercuts, because again, even if they hit with the middle big knuckle, you're gonna go like this to make contact and bend your wrist. And if you're not good at that, right, you're gonna jam up your shoulder and your wrist together. So I just like to nick it, forearm up it. I teach that one a lot, because that makes things a lot easier. And again, until they get used to where they're supposed to hit and the proper technique, it makes a huge difference. So those are good ideas, again, in the beginning, to get people used to throwing their hands and just making impact points, to know where they're supposed to hit on the heavy bag, hand pads, whatever, sparring, because that's vital. And for each coach that's out there, you know, you're going to teach a little bit differently, but that's the basis of what it is. If someone keeps jamming up their hand, check their grip strength. If it's terrible, fix it. If their vision's off, if they're turning their head while they're punching, fix that, because it's very simple. Realistically, just get them drills where their head's staying still and figure out where the mobility is. Is it their T-spine? Is it their back? Is their neck weak where they can't control their head? That's a very common one, right? So just work on really slow, controlled drills that train that pattern. It's not look to the side, because remember, you throw a hand and when you miss and your head's turned and a right hand comes, you get hit on the jaw right there, fight's over, right? So those are key points to help you with that. Now, what I want to do here is just to show you a few exercises that you can do very simply to help increase your grip strength. And for the record, guys, this is not just me tuning my own horn, but when I was there's a place called the Science Center here in Toronto. When I went there the first time, there's a grip strength machine. I went up to this thing and I pulled with 3 fingers, a thumb and 2 fingers, and I maxed it out. And for me, I was always a knockout puncher. You know, I knocked out everybody I fought, everybody that I beat, I should say, an amateur. I knocked out every person except one, an amateur. My grip strength was really strong. I'm not a massively strong individual, but I have big, strong hands. And I always try to maintain that, keep that up by doing grip strength exercises. So let's go out to the gym, to the floor, and I'll show you guys a few exercises you can do to help enhance or just, again, prevent your hands from getting weak throughout your boxing workout experiences. All right, let's go out to the floor. All right, crew, I'm at the chin-up bar. I want you guys to really consider adding these in to your routine to help increase your grip strength. What I do is I go wide. I go, obviously, hands to the inside. I go inside. You can change your grip in many different positions because you don't want to train your grip strength in one position. It's like doing bicep curls like this all the time. After a while, your elbows aren't going to like that. You got to do different positions, guys, with your bicep curls to really train different parts of your biceps. Same with chin-ups and grip strength. You want to make sure you train in different positions with your hands, right? So that you're getting the full benefit of pull-ups, chin-ups, whatever it is. And again, you always want to think full range. You full range. Don't go here and then pull yourself up. You don't box like this. You don't do that. You're going to stiffen up instead of actually loosening up and gaining mobility and strength in full range. You're going to stiffen up that way. If you don't have the range of motion, work on it. That's what I'm saying. If chances are, if you can't go full range, you're not punching full range. So just think about that. We got to think outside the box a little bit. Why are you not able to do certain movements, and how is that going to impact your workouts? That's huge, okay? So again, what I do to increase this is I'll go 5 fingers, 4 fingers, 3 fingers, 2 fingers in different positions that I can withstand. I don't want to feel elbow pain ever. I want full range of motion. I want to incorporate these a couple times a week at that. And again, if you want to test your grip strength, check it on a dynamometer, see what it is. Do this for a few weeks into your routine. I'm going to show you a couple more exercises, of course, and then see if it's increased, and you'll be surprised at what that actually does for your body. All right, so this is an example of some of the things that I do when I do my chin-ups. You know, I'm just throwing to my chin-ups there. You can see, you know, different variations in my hand position. Again, I didn't go too crazy. You can do a lot more positions than that. I'm just trying to blast through this video. But again, don't be afraid to challenge a little bit. If you feel pain that you can't withstand, obviously change it up a little bit. So a great mobility drill there, guys, is a lot of times you'll hear all this talk about hanging, and hanging is awesome. The only negative in my concern, if somebody's shoulders are really bad, or your T-spine's really bad, or your neck is really tight, a lot of times if you go too aggressive in the hang, you can kink up things pretty fast. So you got to take it in steps. So you can use a band, throw a band on your foot to go into position. But I think using a machine like this, right, where they have the foot piece on, you can use that to help stabilize you. Or again, you just use different variations to go bit by bit. So initially you go, say, you hang from a 2-footed position. So if you put a box underneath your chin-up bar, or if you're doing your pull-ups on, and you squat on that and then just let your head hang down, let your head rest, you'll get an awesome stretch there. And again, what you want to think about while you're doing that is, number one, you're increasing your grip strength, so you're getting some good stim through your hands. The other thing that's pretty cool is you'll feel asymmetry in your shoulders if you're stiff in one shoulder compared to the other. So if you feel the asymmetry in your shoulder, that's another reason why you don't want to necessarily go too far into the drop down into the hang, because one shoulder without a doubt is going to be doing more work than another. So you just go bit by bit And I wouldn't do single arm hangs. I would only do, I like to do only 2 at a time, and let your body slowly adapt to that. And when you feel like it's enough time, you go a little bit 1 inch lower, 1 inch lower, 1 inch lower, until you go into your full hang. And that's just going to save you from terrorizing your shoulders. And it's, again, going to give you a little more relaxation, a calm, right? Controlled aggression while you're throwing your punches with a little more mobility through your shoulder, okay? And I do chin-ups twice a week. I do a protocol where I do as many as I can do, as 50 chin-ups and as fast as I can. So, I've gotten to, I think, 4 minutes with a 25-pound plate between my knees, but that's me. Some people can destroy that. Other people couldn't imagine doing that. But again, just challenge yourself a little bit. Add some variety, kind of be creative. Just don't go crazy and don't overdo it. That's it. Keep it plain and simple, all right? So 2 more exercises that I want you guys to work on to increase your grip strength. The first one is farmer's walks. So again, I want you to use a heavy weight, hold on to the weight, and just, basically you want to do 30 yards if you can. So if you're gonna go 15 yards up, 15 yards back, do a few sets of that. And I like to do that realistically at the end of my workout when I'm tired, because most times when you injure your hands, it's under fatigue. So it's nice to do those hard farmer's carries again at the end of your session, again for a wicked finisher. And make sure the weights are heavy, stiff core, again, because it's teaching you to brace your core when you're fatigued, and again, grip those hands up when you're tired as well to prevent injury. And what I also like is the way the position is, you're holding the position in your hands with the weights, is that it's keeping those wrists nice and strong and your shoulders nice and strong, right? So that's an awesome way to finish your workout. So farmer's carries is a must. Add those to your workouts also a couple days a week. And the last one I want you to add in, or the last 2, is reverse bicep curls. Okay, because we do a lot of this, right? We get those curls in this way. We don't do a lot of bicep curls in the reverse position. Again, we want to strengthen your wrists and your forearms. So just change it up and get some reverse bicep curls in. If you feel like your elbow's doing too much work, assess your shoulders again, look at it that way and see if your shoulders are locked out. If not, put them back, sink them in deeper, or do bicep curls against the wall. Try it that way, or use a cable machine. But again, make sure you keep tension on and work those reverse bicep curls. Those are awesome for grip strength as well. And the last one is, I want you to start doing some cable rows or cable pulls with either your hand wraps, right? Or a really big ball on the machine with your fingertips. So think about doing some rows with your fingertips in different positions with your fingers when you're rowing, to help work your grip strength that way. Okay, so that's also an awesome way to do it. Think outside the box and challenge your fingers in your grip in many different positions, and that's going to prevent you guys from killing your hands and your wrists. It's going to prevent you from killing your shoulders. Overall, it's just a really good thing that you want to incorporate into it. All right, so make sure you do that as well. Now, the last thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap your hands up and just talk about, proper way to wrap your hands that I like to do it. That's going to allow you to really focus on throwing your punches harder. And one thing I want you guys to also think about is, when you throw punches and your hands don't feel secure, the best thing to do and the best course of action is take your gloves off and rewrap your hands. And if you don't have wraps on, it tells you straight up right there you should have wraps on, or work on your wrists.